Well, thank you everyone for your patience as we troubleshoot. It's always fascinating to watch the troubleshooting happening online as well. So thank you to David and for helping us out with that. So my name is Jackie Rapat. I'm the Associate Dean of Research for the College of Rehab Sciences, and I'm really pleased to welcome you to our monthly Illuminate session, where we feature different speakers from both within the university and outside of the university to share their research and the work that they're doing, so that we can learn more from them and develop networks and collaborations as well. So today we're really pleased to have Dr. Anuprita Kanitkar as our presenter. And Anuprita is known to many of us in the College of Rehab Sciences. She did her doctoral work within the Applied Health Sciences program and is now a postdoctoral fellow working with Dr. Tony Stern in the College of Rehab Sciences. I'm going to do a very short land acknowledgement, and then I will turn it over to you, Anuprita, for your presentation. So we need to remember, respect that the University of Manitoba campuses are located on the lands, original lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota and Dene people, and the homeland of the Red River Métis Nation. We respect the treaties that were made on these territories, and we acknowledge harms and mistakes in the past. We dedicate ourselves to move forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in the spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. So I'm going to turn it over to Anuprita. We do just a note that we are a little bit late running, and I imagine people will have something at 1 o'clock, so we might have to just manage our time that, but hopefully we'll have a few minutes for questions at the end. I'll turn over to you, Anuprita. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rapat. So today I'm going to talk about the use of computer game-based protocols in neurorehabilitation, which has been my research area since I have come as a student to U of M back in 2011. So just to talk quickly about a little bit of literature, currently the physical therapy approaches that we are using, like CIMT and hand-arm intensive bimanual training, like habit and CIMT for fine motor function, or various balance training programs for walking, consists mainly of repetitive task practice, goal-oriented movements and activities. These protocols are established on the theoretical basis of shaping of recovered brain linkages and learning-based adaptive neuroplasticity. With regards to fine motor function, for example, rehab in people with neurological disorders, the one major shift of focus from conventional therapies was creating high-intensive therapy programs that are focused on strengthening and motor pathways, strengthening of motor pathways and repetitive task practice, hence the CIMT and habit protocols that were newer combination therapy programs that advocate high intensity practice and long-term retention on newly learned behavior. But unfortunately, such protocols often are not feasible because of time constraints. For example, CIMT takes about 3 hours per day for long periods of time. It's also not very interesting. It gets repetitive, it gets boring. So the adherence to therapy programs, the compliance to therapy programs is often really low. So for this reason, it is necessary to develop motor learning based protocols that have shorter durations, yet maintain high repetitions and are engaging, are fun, and can be provided to people in their natural environments also. So the transfer from clinical setting to home setting should be fun. So the research so far has concluded that people with neurological disorders or neurological injuries are unable to engage in daily day-to-day activities like school for kids, or leisure activities, work, that are at high risk of facing difficulties with psychosocial and physical development. So using play as a motivation can maximize the therapy compliance, a significant factor in improving outcomes. So people with neurological disorders or injuries clearly benefit from intensive, well-resourced outpatient therapy. It is also difficult to engage people in such therapy programs for long term. without sustaining motivation, which is where telerehabilitation came in play, so that one-on-one supervised therapy can still be provided, may that be from home or from a school setting or a community setting or regular clinical setting, without losing the adherence to program, without making it boring or tedious, and still be able to provide follow-ups and updates regularly, even for home therapy programs. So therapy programs that are designed to improve the upper extremity motor and spatial processing skills must strive to maximize the neurological capacities and prevent secondary disorders, secondary disabilities. So neurological or technological advancements that have immense potential for delivering quality rehab are quantifiable and reliable methods for monitoring remotely as well as in clinical settings, and assess to track progress as the therapy progresses. So many studies have provided enough evidence now to show that well-designed treatment programs that incorporate computer game-based, digital media-based platforms to their regular therapy have good value for people, children and adults dealing with neurological impairments. However, only very few of these platforms tend to focus on fine motor function, and even fewer actually work on practicing object manipulation. A lot of virtual reality platforms like V or Xbox and other game-based rehabilitation platforms fail to work on the finger and hand movements and the sensory motor components, because the virtual objects is kind of like waving in the air. You are not actually manipulating the object. You're not actually getting the sense of the physical properties of that object. So the experience overall is a lot different from the real world object handling and manipulation. You are not getting any physical properties like textures and weight of the object and shape of the objects when you are performing the given task. There's also no measure of the actual range of motion required to perform a certain function, as opposed to the virtual range of motion that is required to fulfill the criteria of the game. There is a need for repetitive task practice based computer games platforms that focus on gross as well as fine motor function improvements in people with neurological problems. For this purpose, we developed a low-cost computer game-based rehabilitation platform, or we are going to call it CGR platform, which is a learning-based platform on the principles of repetitive task practice. This approach will combine the fine motor object manipulation and the gross motor exercises with attention and planning game activities that are goal-directed and repetitive task-based, with three main goals to consider when creating the computer game-based protocols. The first one being the high volume of practice. Second one being easy transfer from clinical setting to a home-based setting or community-based setting or schools for kids. And to provide timely updates and feedbacks for clients in long-term therapy programs. So for this reason, the CGR protocol was developed, which is low cost, it's engaging, it focuses on repetitive task practice, but it is unlike the conventional therapy programs like CIMT or Habit, it's not as time consuming. Oh. So when creating specific task protocols, it is important to consider the physical movement as well as cognitive tasks. For example, a simple target shooting computer game can be paired with many movements for the shoulder, for elbow, for wrist joint, while maintaining a grip of any given object, like let's say a toy gun. But as a practitioner, it is important to take into account the client's impairments and current therapy goals to make the correct choice of the object, the movement, and then pair it with the right type of game. There are many commercial games that are easily available. They are super inexpensive. You can just take it off the internet for free of cost or for $3 to $5. And they will give vast variety of level of difficulty, moving targets, moving backgrounds that you can choose from based on client's current capability. So of the two applications that I will discuss today, the first one we'll focus on is the fine motor function impairment rehabilitation. So the CGR protocol uses a simple therapy mouse called the inertia-based miniature wireless plug-and-play mouse, or IB mouse is what we call it. It functions identical to a standard mouse, except that the angular movement of the mouse controls the movement of computer mouse cursor. Or if you're playing a game, it'll be the game sprite or avatar or the paddle or your toy gun or what have you. So this allows many different and standardized object manipulation tasks to be used for CGR and for assessment as well. The IB mouse can easily be attached with a simple Velcro for n number of objects, many objects. That will give you different manipulation tasks, which will increase the physical as well as functional demands. For example, different physical properties like weight, shape, different sizes, surface frictions, different degrees of freedom. For example, if you're going to roll a cylinder versus rolling a ball, different manipulation tasks for the hand. For example, 2-finger grip or 3-finger grip, or tripod grip, bimanual or whole hand grip, hand open or squeezed. Different manipulation tasks require different combinations of wrist, elbow, and shoulder movements as well. So the gross component is also needs to be taken into consideration as well. However, the IB mouse is a passive game input device, so it cannot provide any movement assistance for the client. It will only allow the clients to practice the movements that they are able to make already, but practice them on a larger scale. You can grade the movements down or amplify every movement. However, to provide assistance for people with smaller ranges of motion who still need assistance for movement control and direction, we created, with the help of Price Faculty of Engineering here at UFM and a lot of engineering brains, we developed a low-cost, portable, multi-purpose manipulatum device. We are calling it the RMD, which is equipped with smart monitoring and assistive technologies. So our RMD is complementary to the IB mouse. It provides assisted game practice for a broad range of manipulation tasks. RMD also inputs instantaneous angular position, just like the IB mouse uses the angular movement. The output of RMD is through a microprocessor. So it's just a plug and play computer mouse basically, but that looks big and like a box almost. But many snap-on handles that are just 3D printed in our lab can be used for practicing different manual dexterity functions involving thumb and finger movements, wrist and shoulder movements, elbow movements. The RMD is motorized and it's programmed to provide smart movement assistance. So during a gameplay, it has the ability to amplify limited and small voluntary movements for those who are severely affected. So many day-to-day activities can be imitated or practiced without the physical properties like the weight and texture and temperature, other things that come with handling or manipulating any object, by grading parts of the movement and amplifying the available range of motion using the RMD smart assistance. and it can be practiced using wide variety of 3D printed handles with given games that you are playing. So here on the left side, you can see similar movements being performed with the RMD on the right side versus any object to manipulate on the left side. So currently we are performing a few research studies. One of them is to see the effectiveness of using RMD in various conditions, like in spinal cord injury cases here in First Steps Wellness Center in Manitoba, as well as in Regina. We are also for clients with arm impairments due to stroke here in FSWC in First Steps Wellness Center, as well as in India in SDM College of Physiotherapy. We are also working towards a study for children with neurodevelopmental disorders there in India. So for these research studies, the conventional therapy protocols are based on the principles of repetitive task practice protocols like CIMT and habit. Many sensory motor tasks are introduced to participants during these conventional therapy protocols using different object manipulation tasks from day-to-day activities and exercises. For the experimental group, a combination of RMD and IB mouse equipped object manipulation tasks paired with computer games are chosen by the therapists. A wide variety of objects from participants' day-to-day life are chosen for their individualized therapy programs during the experimental group treatment. For the ongoing research study, it's a total of 20 sessions per therapy program are performed. So that's 2 sessions per week for 20 weeks. And then there is a crossover in the crossover control trial. So participants receive overall 20 weeks of therapy. And we have performed several studies in the past to observe the quantitative and qualitative changes in participants' fine motor function impairments due to various neurological conditions and the effectiveness of CGR protocol in clinical setting, home and school setting. So to summarize, emerging game-based rehabilitation technologies have potential to improve client participation in repetitive task practice protocols and therefore enhance function. And the commercial games offer a wide range of levels of precision and movements that can vary in speed, amplitude, directions, accuracy, depending on what type of computer game that you choose. There's also a wide range of executive cognitive activities that are available in commercial games. So instead of having to create each game separately, we can easily download games. It is also important to have a large variety of exercises and cognitive activities in games to maintain high levels of motivation and interest in participants. The knowledge of therapeutic value, so which object to choose, which task to choose, what movements to perform in each task, as well as what computer games go best with those tasks, will allow the therapist to prescribe and create individualized protocols for every participant and every client that are target specific and have defined therapy goals. A game-based assessment application is also created, which can provide a standardized method of quantifying task performance, which we'll go over in the next section now, to have in-clinic as well as home-based supervision, so that we can telemonitor their progress and create automated. We have created an automated tool so that we can provide timely feedback, objective outcome measures. When they are performing certain tasks, we can see how well they have progressed. so that people can interact with therapists through a number of mechanisms. Like you can just use emails or phone, and as long as I know, I can see your file, I know how well you're doing, and I can change your protocol even if you're in a different city, in rural areas where there are still difficulties in providing therapy programs that have the same quality as a in-clinic therapy program and can be monitored. So the addition of computer games make the object manipulation tasks visually rich, fun, engaging. It also includes a variety of spatial and visual tasks and planning activities, other cognitive enhancements to the goal-directed manipulation tasks. However, these cannot work on all manipulation tasks. For example, really fine motor tasks like buttoning and unbuttoning, or tying shoelaces, or turning pages of a book, etc. And they require a operating system. So we still need to provide a computer that is working and certain amount of training for the therapist. In future, we are hoping or we are working on creating a MRI compatible robotic manipulation device, so that we can use it in the multi-event task-based fMRI to understand the cognitive processing of such computer games-based object manipulation tasks better, and then see and track progress over time pre to post intervention in various neurological disorders. So, speaking of telemonitoring, researchers have evaluated that movement quality of upper extremity to measure motor performance and movement quality using quantifiable outcome measures, that is movement accuracy and velocity for home-based rehabilitation is a good measure. And they've concluded that the kinematic measures of movement quality can be sensitive and useful measures for complementing clinical assessments. So we believe that performing goal-directed manipulation tasks through engaging guided repetition creates experiences that are crucial to improving brain's ability to learn. But we also need to assess these protocols and assess their progress as we go. So for the automated assessment or telemonitoring embedded into treatment, objective outcome measures to track changes remotely is important, and to provide timely feedback and updates. For that reason, there's a computer game-based assessment that is developed with two modules. The first one is the target game module, and then the tracking module. So the target game module requires the client to interact with moving game objects. So your computer cursor is moved just in one direction to catch as many targets as you can in a given duration. So let's say, for example, in 1 minute, you will be playing the game to catch 30 targets. So you're playing the movement for 30 different times, goal-directed, precise movements that can be recorded and then analyzed for your game performance outcome measures. So this particular module can assess many quality of movement outcome measures like the success rate, movement onset time, response time, movement error, the variance of your movements. So this every individual game response traces the movement of your paddle. The paddle is the one at the bottom here that was moving, and that is moved by you. And every target that you miss is recorded. Every target that you catch is recorded. Kind of looks like this once you parse every movement. And once you clean the graphs, it kind of gives you this ideal graph that looks like this. But if you pull away one single sorted movement, then you can easily see the graph here from when the target appeared to the target disappeared, whether or not you caught the target at the end of 2 seconds, at what time did you actually start moving, that's your response time, at what time did you finish moving, that's your total movement time. If you missed the target, then by how much did you miss the target, and how much was your variance. So here you can see the game movement trajectories of a able-bodied adult versus a client with stroke with using different RMD handles here. So you can see for a healthy person, the graphs are very coherent, very clean looking, whereas for somebody with a stroke, the movements look a lot more unclear. Their movement times are a lot more varied. Similarly, here you can see different objects and the level of difficulty using different objects for different people, and how pre to post intervention they change from this is the pre-intervention, the very first time that they're playing the game. You can easily see the confusion in the graphs, whereas post-intervention, they look a lot more linear. The variance is a lot less. The movement responses are sort of starting at the same time for every graph. The second module of the computer game assessment is the tracking module. You can see here in the video. So this task is a simpler task than the target game. The goal is to align or overlap your square paddle to the round ball that is moving in a rhythmic fashion. And at the end of it, at the end of 30 seconds, your movement, which is, for example, if your movement frequency is set at 0.5 hertz or 2 seconds to complete one cycle. So this will include 15 times you going back and forth, repetitive cycles, which gets recorded. So here you can see the movement performed by the computer. So the red one is a performance of a client, and the black lines that you're seeing is the computer performance. Whereas you can see somebody with a neurological disorder the red is the client performance, and the black one is the computer, the round ball movement. So you can see the difference between this and that easily. We performed several studies to test the reliability and validity of this computer game-based assessment for fine motor function. So very briefly, I'll go over the second application too, to discuss the balance and gait impairment rehabilitation protocols. So we can easily name several activities for cardiac fitness like running and swimming and Zumba, and for muscle fitness like strength training and HIIT classes. But what about the neurological fitness? So it is equally important to integrate standing and walking balance exercises to improve mobility and cognitive skills. Our daily activities of living require cognitive processing while performing mobility tasks, like for example, when you're texting while walking and you slow down, or when you're crossing the street, or looking at a bag of chips in superstores on Saturday. So for that reason, it is important to create dual task-based exercise protocols for rehabilitation, as well as prevention of balance impairment during standing and walking, especially after neurological injuries, when this becomes more and more challenging to balance yourself while standing, while walking, and the fall risk is a lot higher. So for this reason, we've created the multi-component dual task exercise program using computer games. which is, again, the computer games are easily commercially available, the same ones that we talked about earlier, and we use the same IB mouse that we used for the fine motor function protocol. However, here we place the mouse on top of client's head using either a cap or a headband, and ask them to move the computer cursor using the head movements instead of holding the mouse in their hands. So here in the video, you can easily see that's just me standing and playing a game while standing still on a fixed surface. There is no movement in the surface, there's no movement in the floor, and yet you can see my ankles moving a lot. That's because I am playing a game. You can easily notice the weight shifts as I move my head from left to right to catch the targets on the computer screen. For standing balance tasks, a variety of fixed and compliant surfaces like sponges, air bladders, steppers can be used. For assessment, the center of foot, for the recording of center of foot pressure, the FSA pressure mapping mat is used, that you can see here in the video. The pressure mat under my feet records all such displacements of weight shifts, displacements of the center of foot pressure that you can see in the graphs here on the right as well. So similar to the physical task difficulty, as in going from a floor to standing on a sponge or standing on an air bladder, when you pair standing still with a computer game, while standing still, the center of foot pressure displacements were a lot higher than just standing, as you can see here in the graph. And then similar, you could have seen during walking too. Here you're seeing me again walking with and without computer game task, dual task performance. So for walking balance, clients are asked to play games while walking on treadmill. Treadmills allow much larger number of steps compared to walking over ground for assessment as well as for intervention. So while performing cognitive tasks or while playing a video game like Xbox Connect or Wii or PlayStation, you do not get as many number of steps. Treadmills also compel the clients to continue walking while maintaining a steady speed, even if you are multitasking. So you cannot slow down while you're texting as you walk. This challenges the brain to focus on balance activities while performing more fun, engaging computer games simultaneously. So here you can see the difference in walking with and without the computer gameplay. So without the game, my walking is very steady, very less variance in my step, whereas here with the computer game added, you can easily see how much I am stumbling. So the treadmill can easily be embedded with the FSA pressure area mat under the treadmill belt for assessing walking performance and for evaluating the spatiotemporal gait parameters. Here you can see a participant stepping on a softer rug on the left, and the pressure mapping is seen on the screen for feedback for him to learn better weight shifts. And on the right, you can see the participant performing a dual task standing task while playing a simple catching the target game that we have seen before. So for assessment purposes, the CGR protocol uses the unobtrusive treadmill pressure mapping system. The changes in the center of foot pressure are recorded and parsed to understand the anterior posterior as well as mediolateral movements during every step made by the clients during walking performance. For example, if the treadmill speed is 1 meter per second, then the client performs about 60 steps per minute, considering the average step length for adults is about 1 meter. So in 1 minute performance, average values of spatiotemporal gait parameters can be analyzed based on the average performance of 60 steps. as opposed to most gait ride systems and other overground walking systems can go up to about 7 steps. So, and in addition to that, when you add the computer games, it adds to the balance cost, adds to the dual task effect. So these graphs here, for example, show the level of difficulty while performing 2 different types of computer games. So the tracking module as well as the target module, while being on the sponge, while being on the floor, just standing still, and also while walking. So you can see the difference in 3 different age groups while doing 3 different tasks. Similarly, these graphs show the amount of variability in their step length as well as in their step time, so spatiotemporal gait parameters, while performing the 2 computer games in 3 different age groups. We have also performed several studies to understand the effectiveness of the CGR dual task protocol in people with balance impairments due to aging, due to Parkinson's, and vestibular disorders. We have also evaluated the reliability and validity of the CGR balance assessment system. Finally, I'd like to take a moment to thank my professors, Dr. Tony Sturm from College of Rehab Sciences, and Dr. Sanjay Parmar in STM College of Physiotherapy in India, and Dr. Narman Safari from Price Faculty of Engineering here at UFM. I would also like to thank all the staff and clients from Four Steps Wellness Center in Winnipeg and in Regina for their constant support and guidance. And thank you, Dr. Rippett and Leanne, for this opportunity and for arranging all of this. I know it was not easy. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Anuprita. That was a really nice overview of a lot of work. When you show all the work and all the citations for all the work, there's been a lot of effort gone into this. So that's really exciting to see this coming out of the college and the work that you've continued to do there. Do you want to stop sharing screen and then we'll see if anyone has any questions that they would like to ask?
Yeah.
Elaine says, thank you. That was very interesting in the chat.
Thank you.
Any questions I can put in the chat? I can read them out, or they can unmute if they would like to ask anything. Maybe while we're waiting to see if anyone has anything, I was interested in some of the qualitative findings that you had. Can you share?
Yeah. So yeah, we always made sure to do a mixed method study so that we do have qualitative as well as quantitative outcomes when we are performing any new experimental intervention studies. So far, for my thesis, I worked with children with cerebral palsy, and we did not yet come out with a study that is talking about children's performances or children's experiences per se, but their parents' experiences spoke a large volume for us, really. Overall, because we were performing in India, there were so many socioeconomic ideas and concepts and problems that we had not realized sitting here in Canada, that also challenges that we faced on that front. That being said, the overall effectiveness and the enthusiasm that parents as well as kids had to be able to do, like, just come to therapy and you're going to the clinic, but you're going to go there and just play games, was such a easygoing, fun experience for all of them. We saw amazing results. We actually published the study already. Here in Four Steps Wellness Center, we are doing a mixed method study. So hopefully I'll be able to publish those results soon too.
Great, thank you. Amin?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Anuprita. This is very good presentations.
Thank you.
I'm interested in the first part, actually, for manual therapy. My understanding is that the sensors that you are using is here to control the game, right? So when I succeed in the game as a patient with stroke or SCI, for example, then it doesn't mean necessarily that I have performed well. And you as therapist, probably you will be thinking that should I repeat the same wrong movement strategy, or should I do differently, right? So I'm interested in hearing from you if you have collected data about the perceptions of the patients
Therapist
of their
perception.
performance. So the perceived performance versus the performance as measured by the software. I think this is very interesting if you have this comparison.
Yes, yeah, we have been collecting that data to see what the therapist perceptions are, the clients or participants' perceptions are, as well as the quantitative data and how three of them differ. Hopefully, I'll be able to publish that someday soon regarding the SEI as well as for stroke. For children, however, yeah, we have already collected that data for a couple of studies now. And you're right, they do differ quite a bit. Like for therapists, you can hear from the therapists about all the frustrations that they go through in trying to keep children on track as to not do any false movements or trick movements and stick to the given therapy program. With adults, though, however, we've not had those issues, obviously. And Neha's, sorry, I see one of the therapists is here, but yeah, therapists definitely perceived it differently than the kids did. Also, same goes for the adults. If certain movements that are hard, especially fine motor movements and thumb opposition movements, I've seen that very often in fine motor issues, becomes really tiresome very soon for the client. So you have to make sure that it's engaging. You have to make sure that it's like their favorite game that they cannot let go of. To keep it
so if I may, did you try training children without supervision?
For home program, yeah, we haven't done like a full-fledged RCT yet. We don't think that we can find well, we could possibly get enough number of participants in India. In Canada, not so much. But then the funding needs to be taken care of at that point. So we are working on it yet.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Because in India, a lot of the issues also are, like I said, about socioeconomic. Not everybody has availability to computers yet.
Yeah, interesting to have that cross-cultural comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I think our time is up, but thank you so much for presenting, Anuprita. We look forward to continuing on with this work and the publications that you'll have from that too.
Yes, thank you.
So thank you very much. Your research is very interesting as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, bye everyone. Thanks for coming.
Bye.